afternoon, everybody. I'm Ross Skorzewski, the host of the Dr. Patrick Flynn Show, and we are back in the studio in our corporate office in Green Bay, Wisconsin, joined by no one other than the hormone whisperer, Dr. Patrick Flynn, the gentleman who can speak to your hormones better than anybody on this planet. I've heard it, I've seen it, and you're continuing to do it. And with that, let's clinky, clinky, clink. We're back.
We're back.
How are you, my man? Sunburned, tan, relaxed, chilled, back in the saddle again.
Actually, this is the same. I'm always the same.
It is so true.
You're saying always just working, getting better, always that, yeah. So
oh
I said,
my God.
Weather doesn't make a difference, even though weather makes it a little easier.
Weather is a huge issue for me.
Yes.
It's like, would you rather go to Hawaii in the middle of winter or Fargo, North Dakota?
Well, it depends what you want to do.
Oh, I see. So now it's all based on what you want to do.
That's right. If you want to do. Now, I would rather go sit on the beach than go snow skiing. And I guarantee a lot of people believe that way. But there's a lot of people that are absolutely obsessed with snow skiing that may love that.
Yes, absolutely. So it was a wonderful time. We had a great time connecting with Janelle and her husband. So thank you for coming along and joining us. Thank you for Dr. Katie for hosting a great Hormone Connection seminar.
And all the wonderful people that are out there.
And all the wonderful people.
But it started before that.
They sure did. You were on a marathon.
Yes.
I know we talked about it.
It was
but
all over.
It's huge. You are really at a place right now where it's fun. And if you want, you can go onto this Facebook page. You can see that your schedule, you're packed. And I mean, sure, the summer comes around and you lighten up on speaking, but the fall, you pick right back up again. And the Hormone Connection, Ending the Battle Between the Sexes, is a seminar you've got to go to. Mm-hmm. It really, it's huge what takes place. The information, the relational connection, I mean, the physiological and all the doctor stuff you do, but it's huge. Yeah. It's transformational.
Well, it's been fun, and it's actually transformed over time that way. The Hormone Connection started out really just as clinical practice, and sick women sitting across from me about telling me all their health problems that way, to all the physical change happen, but then all the emotional changes happen, and then all the husbands liking the emotional changes that way, and then vice versa, men having problem, and then their physical problems change, and then their emotional problems change, and then boom.
Yes.
And I started realizing making the connection.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my goodness.
Speaking of connection.
Yes.
Our training today, once again, is Training Tuesdays at the Wellness Way for all of our offices. And you were talking about connection and the hormone connection.
Everything is about connection.
Absolutely.
You're saying the people that you actually get along with the most is all about connection. The people that you hate the most is all about disconnection.
Yes, absolutely.
You're saying it really is.
Yes. And please don't hate me.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said there's people that will absolutely hate what we say. Why? Because they're disconnected from it. They keep themselves from the information. Yep. Some people just downright put their head in the sand because they have limiting beliefs.
That's right. And that's what the show has always been about, is being able to take the information, what really sets the stage for the Wellness Way to succeed in any office, the approach, the concept, we don't guess, we test, is connecting the dots, connecting the information from one thought to the next, and setting you up for clinical results with us. Yep. And so not only did you do a marathon, speaking session there, a little tour of wherever your states were again.
Colorado, Oregon, Hawaii.
Yep, Hawaii. It was beautiful. But we also released.
That was a good surprise.
That pre-sale.
Yes.
Last Tuesday when we were in Hawaii.
On the show.
Your book, which is up and coming, is going to be coming out, but the pre-sale is happening now, and they are going to be putting the link up as well as a little lower third for you to see. This, once again, this pre-sale is huge because this is an opportunity for you to get in and hop on this book right away. Talk to me a little bit. I mean, you're passionate about your seminar, okay? But you're also passionate about this book because really what takes place in the first part of this book is really telling a story about you, your wife, and what sets the stage for you to be so passionate about the Hormone Connection seminar as well as the content in your book. Yep.
Well, it sets the stage for what really happened, and I don't want to give great details because I make them come to the seminar and read the book. No, but here's what happens. It starts out as a story, but then what happens is, even though the story has a meaning to me and Christy, the story, for example, now then transformed into a clinical practice that we see today and how it affects everybody. And so that's why that's why when women come to the seminar, the number one saying, and we have repeated this over and over again, because I guarantee till the day I die, it's going to happen. Women come up to me and say, my husband should have been here.
Yes.
My boyfriend should have been here.
Yes.
My spouse should have been here that way. Vice versa, even if there's males that come there alone, they'll say, my spouse, my wife should have been there.
Exactly.
Because the idea is, the whole idea, yes, I know a lot of people come because they're looking for, how to normalize. And I saw that our questions on menopause today. Yep. So a lot of questions are, basically I'm sick. How do I get things back to natural? But I back to normal. okay? And they're sick of drugs, so they want a more natural approach that way.
Right.
And so, but what happens is once I set the stage with a story, which is basically my story, and me and Christy's story, then what it does, it actually leads into some of the concepts that were set down today that, for example, connect with people massively, and it's affecting their health, but not only that, it's affecting their relationships.
It might be your story for sure between you and Christy, but also it's that story, it's that authentic, real delivery of something that really did happen. It's not just a thought and idea and fiction, and it's real, it's authentic, and that's what people identify with.
Yes.
And now they can finally step out. And what we've been trying to get people to do with this show is to get you to take action. And that's what we're seeing with this. And you know, even some of the women who now practice in the wellness, or some of the doctors, the reason why they came to you, first of all, was because they were having hormonal issues or they were sick. It wasn't necessarily the seminar or the book, but it was this issue. And it seems that there are a lot of people out there today having real issues with hormones.
Well, it's becoming more prevalent. See, I've always said this, and I repeat this because statistically it happens every year because I love statistics. Statistically, there's more hormonal cancers, there's more cancer, there's more diabetes, there's more every condition every single year as we get older. And so therefore, once again, if the thinking doesn't change, it's not because we don't have enough doctors. Actually, we've increased the amount of doctors tenfold. We've increased the amount of hospitals tenfold. We increased the amount of money and research tenfold, yet we continue to get sicker. It's because of the thinking. And actually, it's the thinking that actually kept my wife sick till I met her. And then we went with a different way of thinking. And of course, that's what I tell people is. That's what a Wellness Way approach is. The Wellness Way approach is so different that what it does when people actually come in contact with, they're like, oh my goodness, it gives them excitement because it actually gives them a different direction and a very simplistic way to think about things. And then that's one. And that's why when I was convinced to actually do a book, guys, let me tell you, this is how I type. I didn't write the book.
It's like Fred Flintstone.
That's right.
These big old sausage fingers.
That's it.
You have small fingers, you're not good at it.
I can't type. So we had somebody type it up for us. That we had somebody, and really what they did is they took the seminar. Obviously, there's a little bit more detail in the book that way, but we took the seminar, transformed it to a book that way, and then of course, you know, I'm just, you know, when I found out how my books were sold last week, it was very humbling.
Yeah,
it really was.
Absolutely.
I was like, oh my goodness, people didn't think that many people were actually listening to what I say.
Yes.
So, and once again, and that's why, and I've asked people to say, listen, if there's one thing that I want to do is I want to make it a New York Times bestseller. Why? Because once again, it's going to, when you become a New York Times bestseller, you now can get all the big shows, all the things like that.
You increase your platform.
You increase your platform, my influence.
Yes.
And I believe that the message we started 20 years ago is so different.
Yes.
And like I said, that's why we're getting bigger.
It is the complete paradigm shift
Yes.
that people really need to have an encounter with when it comes to understanding where you've been with your thoughts about healthcare and where you could be if you take ownership of it yourself.
Yep.
It really is, and that's what sets the stage. So your book, ladies and gentlemen, just keep watching out for this. They'll keep throwing links up. You'll see it constantly being talked about on our social media platforms. But once again, it's not really to just drive sales. It's to get information into your hands.
Yeah.
We know that some people might not be able to see the seminar, but you can read the book.
Yep.
You can read the book.
Well, because I don't speak everywhere, because once again, our request to speak is much more than what we do.
If you want to pay us $10,000 to come and speak to you live in your living room, we will do it.
But even then, actually, we can't really say that because what happens is, the reason why I mean that is because you may, you may pay me $10,000 to come there, but I don't have that much time. Do you understand? It's no joke. Remember, I tell people I'm a husband and dad before I'm a doc or a speaker and stuff like that. So I said it was tough being gone for that week and a half. It really was. So that's why my speaking schedule is still limited, because we have a big organization and clinics all over the country to run that way.
Absolutely.
And so the only thing I'm going to tell people, I said, we do a very good job of not ever selling somebody on something because it doesn't relate.
Yes.
You can't say this supplement or this is good for people because everybody's different. Well, guys, guess what? I'm telling you right now, buy the book because it relates to every person on this planet.
Absolutely.
And I always tell people, I never ask for much. But what I tell you is this, but people send me questions all the time and I respond all the time. Guess what? If I respond to your question, buy the book. They said, because there is a relationship here, and what happens is this, is I tell people, I will always help anybody. I always respond, for example, to people's questions when they're sick that way.
Yes.
But guess what? One of the major things I'm going to ask now is I want people to buy the book because I want our information to get to everybody.
It's got to get out there.
Yep.
It's important. Newsflash. Everybody buy your book.
Yep.
All right, so here we go. Let's get into our first question here.
Absolutely.
Because in dealing and even talking about your book,
Yes.
The hormone connection.
Sure.
We've talked about this before. You've even shared stories about your mom.
Yep.
And once again, another personal connection.
Okay.
But this has all been about you. So individual writes in, please explain the best way to navigate. And this is why we had the warning sign for that Facebook reminder. He's like, danger, danger, danger. Please explain the best way to navigate menopause.
That's a pretty general question.
I'm sure it is.
Okay, so repeat that again. Because,
Please.
guys, I don't know what the question is, so I actually got to,
Yeah. Well, that's kind of why we did the whole warning sign, the
Right.
road sign, is because I think when people do think today of menopause, they think of
Yes.
all of the unfortunate.
Yes. I think I know where
Okay,
you're
so
going.
please explain the best way to navigate menopause. How can you set, maybe I'll kind of paraphrase it, how can you set up your body to navigate the waters of menopause?
Well, first thing is, don't wait till menopause. Well,
we go.
let me go this.
Slamming
Look at my.
things.
Let's always come from a different perspective. When I actually did a show on mammograms on the Quick Tip on Saturday that way, everybody was expecting me to say, "Don't do mammograms, do thermography," and I'm sitting there going, both you guys are saying start thermography, start mammograms at 40 or 50 years old, and they have a debate
Yes.
about which one's more toxic, which one's more beneficial. I'm going, guys, look what you're saying. Your hormonal health started when you were 12, 13, 14 years old. And now, once again, menopause doesn't start to the average of 51 in the United States, sometimes younger, sometimes older.
Oh, you said what age ago? It starts when?
The average age
Puberty,
in U.S.
in essence, right?
Well, no, that's when hormonal changes start to really
start to-
happen.
okay, gotcha.
Because they start to come up at a high level,
Yes.
okay, for
Okay.
both men and women. So therefore, that's when hormonal management for menopause starts. Ladies, think about this.
Man, how behind the wagon are we then in our thinking?
That's the thing. That's the whole thing about the one-way approach. Our thinking is so bad, we're having the debate over to check the breast tissue with mammograms at 40 and 50. I'm going, guys, if a woman gets breast cancer, guess what happens? They're going to give you an estrogen-inhibiting drug for the next 5 years minimum that way. Now they're telling women for the rest of their life that way. Why? Because their estrogen levels got out of control, and now what they got to do is they got to manage it that way. I'm saying, why don't you get checking that stuff way when they start to have estrogen levels at a high level, which is called puberty. So if you're debating mammograms at 40 or 50 to debate your breast, I'm saying you guys are 25 years too late, okay? Now think about this.
That's really
If you
good.
want menopause to be a normal, natural, healthy process that way, it must start when they're young. Because the reason why menopause now is classified basically like a disease and why women fear it so much is because when they make the transition going from a non-menopausal state when they're still cyclic to a menopausal state, it's horrific for them that way. That transition is not supposed to be that horrific, guys, ladies. It's not. It's not supposed to be this devastating, I'm going through menopause. I'm like, that's a natural biological process that, for example, every woman's gonna hit if they live long enough. Menopause, ladies, does not negate that you're going to be sick and cancer and osteoporosis and stuff like that.
Depression,
And
all that
depression, all
other
things.
stuff, yeah.
You will get that if you're under care of an OB, a gynecologist, or a general practitioner, though. Do you understand?
That's why I think we had the warning sign. Danger, danger, danger.
No, not danger, truth.
Right.
Because the thinking, for example, is you're just a hormonal mess going into menopause. So let's take this. So if you're 30 years old watching this show right now, number one, get your hormones tested properly. I've showed you guys repeatedly how to do it. You need 2 labs done to get a great assessment of it that way, okay? Second of all, start now so by the time you are 50 years old, you're not hormonally sick like crazy and you go into menopause and going, holy hell, I'm horrible. I'm starting to have hot flashes, osteoporosis, and all these things that way.
Yep.
Second of all, let's say you're already there. Let's say you're 65 years old, and a woman that wrote that question, I don't know how old she is that way. Let's say she's 65, and she's going through hormonal hell. Well, then guess what? It doesn't change. The first thing you need to do is get tested properly. I can tell you this, after thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of labs and dealing with thousands and thousands of patients that come from doctors, I've never yet, in almost 20 years of practice, and even dealing with other doctors, ever see people get their hormones tested properly. It's still so funny. I preach about this all over the country. And a woman comes to me, literally goes, Doc, I watched your show, and can you look at my hormone lab? And believe it or not, I will. It's kind of funny. That's what I tell people. But if you ask me to look at your hormone lab now, I'm going to say, buy my book first, otherwise I'm not going to do it. Well,
Conditions.
Yes, there's conditions.
Yes.
Okay? And it's really funny because she said, I got my hormones tested properly. And then all of a sudden, this recently happened. So I pulled up her labs and I look at it going, they didn't measure all the hormone levels that way. They didn't do all the testing that way. And the woman came back to me and said, my doctor wouldn't test them all. Well, then don't tell me that you had all your hormones tested properly and everything is normal that way. You didn't even have them tested properly. The doctor did what he felt necessary, which is what? Most OBs, most gynecologists, most of these people will test a finite fraction of hormones that way because they're looking for disease processes that can come from them that way. It's incomplete. Medical testing for hormones is so incomplete. It's like watching the preview to a movie and going to a movie and realize the movie sucked. Why? Because you took a short clip and tried to judge the whole movie.
Yes.
That's hormonal. That's hormonal care today that way. See, so don't do that. It doesn't matter what stage of life you're at. If you just became a cyclic young lady, if you are in your 20s, 30s, or 40s with your full cycle that way, or if you're in menopause, guess what happens? The criteria doesn't change. Okay, the only thing that changes is your levels of hormones. But how you monitor them and how you take care of them are no different. It's just that, once again, they're at different levels and they're at different times based on, for example, where you are in your cycle that way. So it's just an individual evaluation of each person properly that way. That's why I kind of laugh when you look at basic medical hormone care. They actually will test a woman incompletely and her symptoms are still bad and they'll just do tri-therapy with hormone therapy. But the one thing is this, watch this. This is happening. 20 years ago, this didn't happen. Women would come in to actually get my care, and they're all on HRT, hormone replacement therapy. I can tell you right now, 75% of the women are not on it anymore. Do you know why?
Don't need it.
No, they need it more than ever, but it causes cancer, so they don't do it anymore because the doctors got smart and they're causing cancer in people like crazy. Who said so? The people who made it. And then therefore they said, listen, we're not going to give it out as much now unless it's very severe. So 75% of these women are just coming in just tanked out because they're, which again, I'm not saying they need hormone replacement therapy. I say they need hormone care.
Sure.
And then, but they're so depleted. So by the time they get there, guess what happens? They're so depleted that they'll take anything. So they took HRT and at least made them feel good. See, so that's the things that's happening now. There's a big transition because doctors don't know what to do with these women anymore. They don't. That's why women are so devastatedly sick, even after all the technology, after all the labs, after all the treatments, after all the things that, and all the money we spend in healthcare, the pink ribbons still keep on getting bigger and bigger and more and more.
That's right. Well, here's the thing. You were just talking about whether you're that young 12, 13, whatever that starting phase is, 30 to 65. Well, we just had an interesting question here for you. Ashley Gibson says your info about menopause has been really interesting.
Yep.
What about puberty? Our oldest will be 10 soon, and I'm bracing myself for all the hormonal changes.
Yeah.
Does it have to be as bad as everyone says it is?
No, it's not. But see, that's the thing. That's one part of the book. Don't confuse common with normal. The majority, I think the last stat was 90%. This is disgusting. 90% of young ladies suffer from PMS symptoms. Guys, it's called premenstrual syndrome. It's not called premenstrual normal. Don't confuse common with normal. That's and the reason why, for example, that young ladies are having more problems than they did 20, 30 years ago is because there's more stressors to a young lady's body than ever before. They're eating worse. They're vaccinated to a high level. They actually have horrible habits. They're actually more mentally stressed out. So by the time they're 12 and 13, they're maturing too early, inducing estrogen levels too early that way. They're getting breast sizes bigger ever than history. Do you know that? They've been recording this. The size of women's breasts at a young age are much larger than 20, 30, 40 years ago that way.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's why, for example, why? Because hormone levels at a young age are going so devastatingly high, they're maturing at a much younger age, and therefore that's why cancer rates are going up. Once again, I have an 11-year-old. She is getting her hormone levels tested. Why? Is she at puberty yet? No. But I want to make sure that they stay nice and young like they're supposed to. And then all of a sudden when she does transition, her body can make that transition beautifully, and she won't be going through PMS and things like that.
So what about for a young man? Because you know what I love about the Hormone Connection? I'm a guy.
Oh,
right?
so much easier.
There's a part to this seminar that is even relevant for the men in your life.
Yes.
Okay. So what about a young man, boy, who's transitioning into puberty? What does that look like for him?
Much easier.
Much easier?
Oh, I'm not joking.
End of the show.
My seminar doesn't pander to women, but I'll tell you guys, I know most women watch this show and most women like this stuff we talk about that way, but for the guys that are watching, be thankful you're not a woman.
Yes, so you say it a little bit different at the seminar.
And yes, I do, because we want to give away a seminar. But it's not a joke. It's like all testosterone levels have to do is come up. And our
Yeah.
testicles produce the majority, if not all of it. We get very little from other parts of our body that way. Women grab their hormones from multiple things. And that's why so many things have to work together for their hormones to balance out. For a guy, good testicular production that way, good ingredients to make testosterone levels that way, good zinc levels, good, and we can actually start to build zinc really easy, or build testosterone levels really easy. And then with a guy, the hormones are like a guy that's dead on a heartbeat. It's like straight across.
Straight across. And it's supposed to stay that way.
It's supposed to be that way. And so what happens is that's why.
I don't think mine do.
Yeah, no,
I think
they
I
do.
more resemble that of a woman.
No, all guys' hormones, what happens, they're just much easier to keep normal. Actually, it's really funny, but when they go bad, men go just as hormonal, emotional, and stuff like that as women do. You know what I'm saying? It's just, once again, it's so much easier to keep testosterone balanced than it is to do the other ones that way. So young men, middle-aged men, everything will have it so much easier if they do it. It's easier for them to recover, too.
I just want to let you all know, if you're not paying attention to the comments, you can see in the comments that was just posted, as our hormone tests are on sale for Mother's Day. And what a caring gift to give, especially if you're a guy, yourself, so that you can better possibly understand her or get it for your daughter.
Yeah, well, if you think about it this way, here, I kind of laugh about this. The pink ribbons, which I just kind of giggle at all the time. Because people actually think they're doing something good, they're really not.
Oh, that money
they're perpetuating.
Going where?
They're perpetuating a bad idea in the first place. This whole idea, for example, is this: the pink ribbons. Look at their major treatment for any women that have breast cancer. Yes, it's all chemotherapy, radiation, but understand that the number one drug that they give every breast cancer woman is an aromatase inhibitor. It's trying to knock down the estrogen levels. It's trying to knock down the estrogen levels. Well, guys, weird concept. If estrogen levels are out of balance and you can develop cancer, why don't we measure them at a young age when they start to actually develop at a normal level and actually keep them that way so you don't end up with breast cancer?
Be proactive.
See, I know it sounds so simple, but it is
reactive,
simple.
yep.
Doctors try to make things very confusing and say that your grandma had cancer and your mom had cancer, so you're going to have breast cancer. No, you're not. That's just as dumb as somebody saying that you have high cholesterol because your grandpa did and your dad did.
Well, what if I have the genetic gene?
In the funny part is, here's the one thing great about the BRCA gene and all things like that. A gene has to be triggered. And guess what triggers it? High estrogen levels.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That's why actually people have been
lifestyle.
convinced, well, yeah, grandma and grandpa sent you down bad habits. Do you know what I'm saying? They did. Bad habits, stressful. You know, it's really funny. Your mom's, you know, it's really funny. The reason why, and I will tell you this, and I've been very clear about this, women will die mainly from mental stress. Guys will die from sugar. Okay, I set this up massively scientifically in the book, in the seminar, everything that way, and nobody disagrees with me on this. But that's why you got to be very careful about stressing out women. You really do. That's why, for example, when women come to the seminar, they go, "The number one thing is stressing me out is my man." Yeah, it is true. Women worry about men more than anything that way. So therefore, guess what? They can be one of the biggest contributors to women being sick. So I just tell people, don't stress out the ladies that way. Don't be a contributing factor. Are there other stressful factors? Yeah, there are. But guess what? We're one of the biggest ones. You know what I'm saying?
I will not take any ownership of that statement that was just made.
Yeah.
I am not that individual. Yes, I am. Really bad. Hey, Brian Johnson, he says, hello, my bald and beautiful brothers in Green Bay.
Nice. Hello, Brian. Nice to see you.
Good to see you. Hey, thank you, everybody, for jumping on this episode. This is a
There's a lot
great
of people.
episode today, but let's just take a little moment and say hi. Carla, it's good to see you on with us today.
Yes.
Amy Kurchansky. I like that. Is that Czech, Russian? It's not Polish, but I could be wrong because it should be an I instead of a Y.
Yes.
I think. Something like that. I don't know. Your mother's watching. But man, I think this is a great episode because really in all of that, and the hormones, navigating menopause, talking about when young women come into their cycle, how do you set them up for success even at that stage before they become reactionary because their hormones are out of whack, talking about young boys. This is really the information that saturates the book.
Sure.
It literally is. It's the information that saturates the seminar. And what it really does, and I'm going to always tie this back on, what it really does is it causes you to think.
That's the key. See, that's
That's
the key.
it.
That's all. That's my whole seminar. I say I have one objective: to get you to think differently.
Yes.
And I say, Doc, why would you say think differently instead of just think? Because our current level of thinking has led to all-time rates of cancer, heart disease,
Yes.
breast cancer, diabetes, infertility, weight problems, everything.
Yeah.
And if the thinking doesn't go different, if it doesn't go in a different direction, we're going to be speaking on this seminar. Here, let me make a prediction. You and I are going to be here for the next 20 years doing this
I hope
easily.
so.
Now get this though. I guarantee we're going to be saying the same exact things.
Well, absolutely.
Do you know why? Because medical thinking is so dominant and the habits that they've conditioned. I'm going to do a show
Yes,
just
for
on when it comes on
generations.
quick tips on indoctrination. Indoctrination is just stupid beliefs.
Write that down.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because people have been indoctrinated and they hold on to these stupid beliefs and it causes the actions. That's why, for example, we're so sick today. You're indoctrinated that you think your medical doctor is smart. I'm going to tell you, most of them are stupid. They're really dumb. They really are.
And you're more offended by the fact that he said that they're stupid.
Yeah. That's why we have an unlike button.
Yes. If you
No.
don't like it, don't watch.
Here, let me tell you something that was really stupid. Because remember, I still see some patients on Monday. I don't take any new patients. These are patients who've been with me for a long time. But get this. So I had a patient, here, let's set stage. A husband and wife came in yesterday. They're, in their 70s. And their daughter is in their 40s. And then they have a daughter, they have also a granddaughter that's, 6 years old and stuff like that. And I know one is watching, so it's kind of cool. But get this. But the grandma was telling me that, once again, because we tested the child, her granddaughter's allergies, and she had an IgE anaphylactic to shrimp. Okay? Now get this. So the grandma and the dad are massively educated, think like we do that way. And now remember, their daughter does too, and she's awesome, and she's also a registered nurse. Okay? But she was having tummy problems, so she brought her here. So I said, whoa. She goes, do you think that my daughter may need an EpiPen? I said, well, something. You would know an allergist, go talk to him and ask him if they need an EpiPen. Because I can't give you an EpiPen.
Sure.
But make sure you're safe. You don't want to die from an IgE allergy that way. Went to the allergist. He's like, well, let me retest her. Like my testing wasn't valid enough, okay? Retest her in multiple ways, including the same blood tests, but also 2 scratch tests. And shrimp was really bad, okay? Now here's the funny part is this. The girl has never eaten a shrimp in her life.
So where did that come from?
Well, it's very simple. I kind of laugh about this, okay? People say, Doc, I've never eaten this food. How can I be allergic to it? I'm like, have you ever heard anybody had a cat or dog allergy? Like, yeah. Did they eat the cat or dog to be allergic to it? Do you understand? And they're like, oh, good point. Your body's allergic to proteins in there, and the shrimp has a very similar protein to other proteins out there that way. That's why there could be multiple foods the same family. Well, get this. But here was the stupid part. So she actually has had no reactions to it now because she's never eaten it that way. So here's what the stupid allergist said here in town. Said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to feed her shrimp in the office and see how badly she reacts.
Oh, that's lovely.
And the mom's
That's
like,
lovely.
and the grandma's there with the appointment going, did you just say what I think you said? He said, well, we have medication here to calm it down for reacts it. Your labs are bad enough. Now remember, we also test the IgGs. And the mom even asked him, said, well, what do you think about IgGs? Here's the doctor's response. Don't worry about them. All they really cause is just some inflammation.
Yeah.
Which is the root
my.
cause of every disease on the
Everything.
planet.
That's why we do inflammation talks.
But it's really funny, but the IgE could kill her. Just like an IgA could kill me.
Yeah.
But here's the fight, but they wanted to induce it. Now remember, this is where it's kind of funny. Here, this is how indoctrinated you are. A lot of your dads, a lot of your husbands are gonna do a stress test by a stupid doctor. Let me explain why the doctor's stupid. Do you know what the purpose of a stress test is? Nobody knows this. Look it up diagnostically. What is the purpose of a stress test? People say, to check your heart. No, it's not. It's to
Cortisol
induce
level?
a heart attack.
Oh.
People don't realize it's to induce a heart attack, and their reasoning is, just like the allergist was, is that we have the equipment if something
can
happens
bring you
to
back.
check you back. I'm not joking. Look it up. The purpose of the stress test is to look at the name of the test, to stress the heart so it can induce a heart attack, because they can't really tell with certain testing imaging that way. So we're just going to push it. And if you have a heart attack, who cares? We got the equipment to save you. Stupid.
Or you could work with Dr. Patrick and Ross. We'll be your stress test.
And you're offended because I called your doctor a freaking moron.
Right.
This is the stupidity. It's indoctrination. And it's really funny. And people fight us because there's indoctrination. Keep fighting us, and you'll be sick. Keep
And
fighting us,
then-
and you'll be unhappy. Keep fighting us, and you'll be divorced. I have women, even in Hawaii, somebody got
Oh,
up and
yeah.
walked out.
Yep.
I'm like, get your feminist butt out of my seminar anyways.
Yep.
And actually, the funny part is, but the two nurses that were with her, because she was also a nurse, came up to me and said, what I made was so, and here's the cool thing is this, what I made was so much sense.
Yes.
And you guys got to talk to her.
Yeah.
And it's really funny. And she works in hospice care. And she said, Doc, something you said resonated me with like crazy. She's a hospice nurse. And she goes, everybody says this, oh, it's so honorable what you take care of old people. She said, the majority of my patients in hospice are 30-year-olds.
Come on
I
now.
said, remember this. Type 2
you never hear
diabetes.
about it.
Type 2 diabetes, when me and her graduated, because she was the same age I was that way, and she's a registered nurse, type 2 diabetes was called adult onset because grandma and adults got it. Chronic illness because of the current level of stupid thinking that your doctors tell you stupid stuff like eat a shrimp or do a stress test that way actually perpetuates this idea, and chronic illness is creeping itself down, down, down to kids nowadays.
It is. That's why we said be proactive. Don't wait until menopause is knocking on your door and you have all of these negative.
That's the point. Why
Don't
are you
wait.
waiting?
Be proactive. That's what the show is for. That's why we talk this way. That's why it's raw and unscripted. And that's why we enjoy. We're humbled by the fact that you actually would take 30 minutes out of your day, 31 right now, to
Yes.
come and spend and listen to this. But once again, we ask you, don't just listen.
Nope.
Do something with the information that has been given to you. Share it. Get the book. Go to a seminar if you can. Check
Yep.
for an inflammation talk that's being done by a wellness way near you. This is the information that is going to help you feel confident in taking back control of your kids' healthcare, your healthcare, and those that you love. So with that, my friend, it's been an amazing episode. It's good to be back home.
It's good to be back home. I love Green Bay.
Love it. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.